government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish.
Of the people, by the people, for the people.
And that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
It is, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Good evening, everybody. Chris McDonald, Mac Files on a Tuesday night, October the 18th today, and it is so good to have you. We're just 21 days away from the election between those two you just heard, Mrs. Hillary Rodham Clinton and Donald J. Trump. And if you're like me, 21 days cannot get here soon enough, folks. We need to get this thing on and get this negativity and get this crap washed out of our bloodstream, because it has been one of the most nastiest campaigns that I can remember in a long time, and I don't remember it being as this viral, and it's just a horrible thing of what we see witnessing going on in our country tonight. But we've got some other things to talk about that have to do with the election, but they're more serious in nature. We've got a few polls we're going to talk about. The rigged election. One of the Clinton campaign aides were fired today. He was fired for basically admitting on a video that he had destroyed Republican voter registrations, and then basically bragging that they were busing people in to vote. And James O'Keefe's got a video out tonight basically confirming that it was Hillary Clinton's campaign that was behind the bombings in North Carolina, or the firebombing of the RNC headquarters of the local building there. We're going to talk about that as well. In addition, tonight there's a developing story that you have heard absolutely zero about in the mainstream media, but it is something that was brought to my attention by a very dear friend today, sweet friend, and it is something happening over in Russia that we need to address, and it is that's why you see the logo here on the podcast tonight. They have mobilized 40 million of their citizens, folks, to go basically find shelter in different locations outside of Moscow. In addition to that, Vladimir Putin has called the all foreigners, all officials, relatives, and students that are studying overseas to come home to the motherland. That decree came down just 3 or 4 days ago. And again, the mainstream media is saying absolutely zilch about this. This is being reported on Twitter. It's being reported on the internet, the blogs. Breitbart picked it up today. Zero Hedge picked it up. We're going to show you a video clip or two from YouTube, and it will give you more detail about that. We'll get to that in just a second. But again, I just wanted to say hello on a Tuesday night. We're so glad you're with us tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. I will mention something real quick. Fox News poll out today shows Hillary Clinton up 6. Folks, I'll tell you again, like I've been preaching all week and all month really, it don't really make a crap if she's up by 60 right now. We're not voting today. Today's the 18th of October. Today is not the 8th of November of 2016. And I will guarantee you this tonight. There is an undercurrent of people in this country that are not being asked about who they're going to vote for in these polls. There's just not. Most people I've talked to down south, we never get a phone call down here about who we're going to vote for. A lot of these polls, and I'm not saying all of them are, but a lot of them are rigged, and they are slanted to the Dems to make it seem like that she's got more momentum than she does. And again, the whole purpose of that is to get voters so discouraged that if they believe that this race is over, they'll never make it to the voting booth on November the 8th. And folks, if you believe in this country, which I believe most of you do that listen to this podcast, you need to make sure that you get yourself down to vote. My dad, I spoke to him today, and we're going to have a special tribute to him on Thursday. He celebrates number 74, his 74th birthday. It was so good seeing him today, and Vera, and my stepmom, but she's just like my mom, and we just had a great visit with her today, my little niece, and their grandbaby. But we talked about this today. They went ahead and voted on Monday for Trump, and Daddy was telling me that they had a Trump sign stolen out of their front yard last week, and they were trying to find another one to put up. And folks, it's a disgusting shame that the Hillary supporters are so disgusting and so wicked and so crooked, and just piles of SHIT. And for those of you in South Georgia that don't know what that is, that's called shit. They are nothing but that. They're just piles of shit that would go into a yard and steal a sign that don't belong to them. And in addition to that, it's amazing that you never hear of Trump supporters going into Hillary supporters' yards and stealing her signs. It's only the other way around. So that should tell you just how wicked and crooked this campaign and this group of people are. And we're going to talk about that more later tonight. But go vote, folks, whatever you do. I don't care what these polls say. Don't let the media discourage you from voting. And we got one more debate coming up tomorrow night. Chris Wallace will be moderating this debate on the 19th. It will be in Las Vegas. And all the pundits are trying to say if Trump don't do good, he's finished. Folks, it really ultimately don't matter. As long as he don't say something so crazy that even the staunchest supporters out here will swallow their tongues over, I think Donald Trump walks out of this the same way he walked into it. He's going to be down a few points, but the vote that counts is not now. The vote that matters is November the 8th, 2016. He's got to be strong tomorrow night, but I do believe this, and I will say this, and we'll move on to my topic for tonight. I don't think Chris Wallace is going to let Hillary off the hook as Anderson Cooper, Martha Raddatz, and Lester Holt did. Chris Wallace is a pretty straight shooter. He's no fan of Trump, but he's no fan of Hillary either. And I can remember interviews that he did with Bill Clinton even in the last maybe decade. I remember, it was early 2000s when Bill Clinton came on his show, and Chris Wallace gave Bill Clinton everything he wanted and more, basically grilling him about this Haiti situation and all this money that supposedly the Clintons raised for Haiti that never made it to the Haitian Foundation. And Clinton got up and stormed off that set, and even when Chris Wallace was talking about the former scandals, Bill Clinton even went as far as to say, I wish I could wipe that smirk off your face. So there's no love lost between the Wallaces and the Clintons. So I think it's going to be a more fair debate, a more even playing field. Granted, I'm not going to be surprised if the videos don't come up, the women and all that with Trump, but you can be damn sure that the emails and the Clinton Foundation and this quid pro quo and all this WikiLeaks leaks that are coming out, it's going to be handed to her too. So they're both going to be on the spot tomorrow night. And again, if I'm Donald Trump tonight, he needs to be ready for that, and he needs to be ready for her to dodge and to try to lie her way out of this, and he cannot let her do that. And again, I don't care what the pundits are saying, that this is a now or never Hail Mary for the final quarter. Folks, this election 3 weeks out, there's so much stuff that can happen in 3 weeks. It's not funny. And I'm just saying all this to make my point. Don't let it discourage you from voting on November the 8th, or if you've got the opportunity to vote now, go vote. I'm voting for Donald Trump, not ashamed of it. Hell will freeze over before I would ever cast my vote for Hillary Rodham Clinton. Folks, I've lived through the 90s. Most of you have too. We've lived and we saw what the Clintons can do. This lady is as wicked and evil as any human being can be in politics. I've never seen a more wicked machine and a more wicked organization that is tied to so many foreign donors, so many billionaires with nothing but America's destruction at hand. George Soros comes to mind. So much control, so much desire to remove every freedom, the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, Christianity being under attack. I read a tweet just before I came online tonight that one of the WikiLeaks emails out today basically told her staff to not mention Israel in any discussion about foreign policy because she don't like Israel. And folks, that is another tributary going into a larger stream of thought for Hillary Clinton. Should she get elected, that she is not going to be a friend to our only friend in the Middle East, the nation of Israel. And I'm telling you, this is not good, and this is not going to be a good election should she get elected. And I've got no qualms voting for Donald Trump. These people out here on their religious high horses so worried about a few words that he said. I've got a video for you later by Dinesh D'Souza. He spoke at Liberty University 3 days ago, and he had something to say to you folks that are riding your religious high horses. And I want you to listen to it in a few minutes, and we'll get right to that. But that's sort of the what my introductory statement is tonight. You need to go vote. You need to be ready for anything that's coming. And listen, folks, the country is truly at stake tonight. We're in danger. We're in serious danger. There's a developing story over in the Ukraine-Russia area And I want to get to this right away, and then I'm going to talk about violence at the Trump rallies. But I really, really, really want to listen to this right here. This is a video that my dear friend Kathy Long sent me off of YouTube, and she sent it to me today. And I want you to listen to this discussion about Russia. This has just happened in the last 2 to 3 days. This is not old news. This is not some year-old video. This is going on this week. And we heard about it last night, but we really didn't have time to prepare for it for the podcast. We did tonight. I want you to listen to this. This sort of gives you an idea of what's going on in Russia. We'll be back to discuss this. Listen to this.
Syria, another war front, obviously out here that has got a lot of attention, and rightfully so, because of everything that's going on.
All right, we're going to reset this. This got started. Listen to this.
For those that missed the live stream last night on 777, it is being edited and it will be put back out here shortly. It was titled, What is Going On? And we talked a lot about what I want to touch on here for those that missed it. Dealing with Russia and all the actions that they're taking here recently.
Hadn't heard a thing about this in the mainstream media, folks. Just remember this, nothing.
Their THAAD missile system in strategic locations in the South China Sea. Vladimir Putin saying that they could attack the United States on multiple fronts. I've also talked about the possibility of pipelines being attacked. Crimea, Ukraine, a vulnerable spot there. Syria, another war front obviously out here that has got a lot of attention, and rightfully so because of everything that's going on there. And really, Vladimir Putin has been ordering his military to do all these different drills that have raised red flags itself. Here recently, they had 40 million people take place in maneuvers to go underground and to move into other cities toward Moscow. 40 million people moved in just 3 days.
That's a lot of folks, people. That's a lot of people. Think about that. 40 million people.
To do these things. Now they're backing China, and they have so many different economic military pacts with China. It's ridiculous. But once again, they're coming together with China against this THAAD missile system, and they're teamed up. Now, to top all of this off, with all that talk up to this point, we have Vladimir Putin in Russia calling back students from abroad.
That happened Monday.
The globe. Now, when I looked into this, I was seeing if there was anything specific, but there was 5 different Russian officials that were cited in stating this, that they're wanting parents or anyone that even has a Russian citizenship, they can still make it back to the quote-unquote motherland, to come back now. They're also urging all of these students at these universities to not wait till the end of the school year and to come back now.
Why does a sovereign nation listen to this?
A move that has really raised some eyebrows. And it looks really like Russia is in a full stance to get ready to go to war.
It does. Listen to this.
You can't pick another country on this planet that has been holding the drills and conducting the exercises and making the moves that Russia has been making from the Arctic all the way down to the border of all these other countries and into Crimea. And with China having their back, they're a formidable force. And I can't help but think that if there would have been any intelligence whatsoever in our military throughout the past few decades, someone should have known that the biggest thing that anyone could have done was try to work in between Russia and China and turn them against each other. Not have them sitting back to back, having each other's back, it being this huge power block. It seems that wasn't never done. It doesn't seem at this point that there's much of anything that's going to separate China and Russia. I mean, you tell me what it would be. Unless they were the last 2 countries here fighting for resources, I don't see them ever going to war. And the only way to really make these countries fall is to crush their economies, to put them in the dark. to cause civil chaos within their boundaries. And that, I believe, is the plan globally. It could very well start with the U.S. economy because everything seems to be pinned on that petrodollar. It comes crashing down. Of course, someone's going to step up, whether it's the Russian ruble or the Chinese currency. Someone's currency in the IMF basket is going to step up to be used as the main global currency. And for a short time, they will inflate. They'll see a huge gravitation toward them. But it will be short-lived. It will be a bubble that will burst. Because if the United States collapses and all the other dependents around it with the U.S. dollar all start to collapse, then the goods that China has to take in, they are dependent on many other countries just to feed their people.
It's an interesting theory, folks.
You see, when that breaks down, then their economy starts to break down. And once that goes, eventually they fall like dominoes. And I can't help but think that that is the perfect master plan for these so-called elites to usher in a new world order. How are you going to install a new world order globally unless they all fall?
I want you to listen to what he just said. How do you establish a new world order unless they all fall? You can't. And there are other videos, there's other headlines out there tonight saying that basically what's going on with Russia right now, and I know this is crazy, this is the craziest thing in the world, they're actually fighting against this new world order. That some of this is they see what the United States is doing with the way we're conducting our own business over here with our economy through our stupid blank president of the last 8 years and his predecessor, not the predecessor, but the one that's trying to take his job on the Democratic side. They know what she's going to do if she gets elected. And they see the threat to their own economy. And again, it seems that they are resisting the whole thing that the United States itself is pushing. Now, there's two scary things about this video that bother me. The 40 million liquid consolidation of people, getting them to go underground as a drill, folks, that is only for one thing, and that's nuclear war. That only takes place in a nation when a nation is preparing for nuclear fallout from a possible nuclear war. Russia's not going to nuclear war with China. They're not going to war with anybody else. The country that the Russians have got their sights on is the United States of America. Let's be frank with each other. Number two, this situation in Syria, where Russia is actually sending more arsenals, they're sending more weapons, they're sending more of their manpower to buffer up Bashar Assad, who is basically an enemy of the United States. But because of the cold relationship between Putin and Obama, the Russians have seen that they have got no choice now but to take sides finally in the Syrian conflict because of the effort and the lack of effort of stabilizing the Middle East by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton in her time as State Department head. They've got no choice but to take sides in this, and because we have left a vacuum over there, they've decided to prop up the fascist regime of Assad, and it's put them at odds with the United States, who's backing the rebels over there that are trying to usurp Assad. And then in the middle of all this, and I know this is a convoluted mess to even think about, but this is how complicated this situation is. In the middle of all this, you have ISIS, who is basically trying to carve out a caliphate in northeast Syria, northwest Iraq, and southeast Lebanon right now, and create their own Islamic State. And then you've got Iran to the east, who is again an enemy of the United States, trying to get their piece of the pie. Folks, we've got one blanked up mess right now in the Middle East. And for the Russians to come into this vacuum and flex their muscle, it's a given that we're on a collision course with each other. Just like the two fists illustrate here in this picture. We're on a collision course with this nation. Now, whether this takes place before this election, God only knows. But I'm going to tell you something. It is a scary thought, it is a scary premonition that 40 million people are being asked to go underground as a drill, and that all the students and all the officials and their relatives are being told to come home, quote unquote, to the motherland. And that's how the story was written today, that they were asked to come home to the motherland. Let me read this out of Zero Hedge. This comes out of the Zero Hedge. And I'm going to read this and then we'll move on to something else. It says, in Europe, when it gets serious, you have to lie. At least if you are an unelected bureaucrat like Jean-Claude Juncker. In Russia, however, when it gets serious, attention immediately turns to the children. A report in a Russian website says that Russian state officials and government workers were told to bring back their children studying abroad immediately, even if it means cutting their education short and not waiting until the end of the school year, re-enroll them in Russian schools with some concern. The article adds that if the parents of these same officials also live abroad for some reason and have not lost their Russian citizenship, they too should also return to the motherland. At least 5 administration officials of Russia have been quoted as the source of this report. The Russian government is concerned about the optics of having children of Russia being educated abroad. That's what the public spin is. But folks, there's a lot of question tonight as to why that is even being brought about unless they're preparing for war with everything going on. We're going to follow this story over the next few days, and it is a very disturbing story, without a doubt, and it's one that you, the American voter, and you, the American citizen, need to follow as well. Folks, you're not going to hear anything about this from the mainstream media. Look, this video that was sent to me today, there's other videos. We may play that tomorrow. We may play a few more this week. But when you look at the source of these videos, they're all local people that have found this story and have chimed in on this. But there's not one of the major news networks, including Fox News, that has even mentioned it. So I'm telling you, this is sort of one of those things that we're either being lied to, our government is hiding some things they don't want to tell us, or there's something going on in Russia that they do know about, and they're about to drop the shoe too, and they don't want the public to know about it. But whatever's going on, you, the people, need to be aware of it, and you need to keep up on this. And we will do our best here on the Mac Files to do just that for you, as much as we humanly can. So that was that. But that is a very disturbing, very, very disturbing video right there. Another thing that's going on in the news tonight, and I want to look at this a minute, and I'll just deal with Mr. Obama. I'll put his little picture up here. He's not President Obama to me. He don't need to deserve that title, but I'll just call him Obama for right now. But he wanted to go out today, and he wanted to mock Donald Trump about Trump's comment about the election being rigged. And that's rich coming from his party and coming from the people of the Democratic National Committee. I want to play you this video, folks. This guy got fired today, but I want to play this for you. Because this is the kind of people that are trying to win the Democratic nominee for president, and what they do to incite violence at Trump rallies. James O'Keefe uncovered this, and he was not allowed to go on Fox News last night because of fear of retaliation they felt like from the DOJ, because they couldn't quote-unquote confirm this. So we went to the source. This is James O'Keefe. I want you to listen to what he has to say.
In Arkansas, the first guy I called is the head of the AFL-CIO down there, because he will say, what do you need? And I will say, I need a guy who will do this and this, and they find that guy. And that guy will be like, yeah, hell, let's do it.
Bird dogging. Bird dogging. It's a word we had not heard until we got into this investigation. But when we checked the WikiLeaks Clinton emails, we found references to the term in emails to and from the campaign. This is a chain where Clinton campaign manager Robbie Mook suggests it might be a tactic to employ to shore up support with Hispanic voters. After our report, they may also need some help with the people in Iowa and Wisconsin.
So I have to be really honest. Iowa is a difficult case because it's a 50-50 state, and honestly, half the state is racist as fuck.
Pardon the expletive.
I came home last night and really I was upset because that's not the way I was raised, and that's not the Iowa that I grew up in. But you kind of have to accept that that's the way it is. Now,
it's not who you are, but that's what the state is.
Right. Wisconsin is just as bad.
Okay.
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
Corruption. As you can see, it's alive and well in our country, and you're paying for it. As we continue to release more videos, you must hold the mainstream media to account to further investigate what we've uncovered. America, our war is here. We must decide if we're going to save this country or lose it. To quote Abraham Lincoln, America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter or lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves.
That we did. Listen to this, folks. Another video. Same guy, Scott Fogle.
We pay to do shit? Make no mistake.
It's going to be Cesar Vargas. Is his name?
I got a priest to cry on camera once.
This is the Democratic National Committee, folks, at their best.
Part of the old school method where it doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
So Bob is really
Forgive the expletive.
and talked to him this afternoon, and they're all in. If we can get 25 grand, they're all in.
There is a narrative that supporters at
James
Trump
O'Keefe.
rallies are violent and dangerous, looking to beat up protesters who don't agree with them. But our undercover investigation into the Hillary Clinton Democratic Party machine reveals a very different story.
If you're there and you're protesting and you do these actions, you will be attacked at Trump rallies. That's what we know.
So that's part of the process of eliciting the reaction.
The whole point of it is we know that Trump's people will freak the fuck out. His security team will freak out, and his supporters will lose their shit.
All right, listen to what he just said, folks. We know that if we go in and incite violence at a Trump rally, the Trump people will freak out, lose their blank, and they will cause the problems. They will fight back, and that they will, again, they'll be put on camera. The news media will blame Trump for that, like they've been doing. And ask yourself the question, folks, every time there's violence at a rally, do you realize that the mainstream media, they blame Donald Trump yesterday for the firebombing in North Carolina of the Republican headquarters there? He got blamed for that, not the Democratic people that did it. Here you got Scott Fogle bragging to James O'Keefe on air. This is their plan. This is what they're doing. He got fired today for this, but I think the cat's out of the bag. Let's listen to a few more minutes of this, and then we'll move on.
It doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
Hillary is aware of all the work that you guys do. I hope.
The campaign is fully in.
And then they tell Hillary what's going on.
Well, Hillary knows.
Hillary knows the chain of command. She knows what's going on. Listen to this.
Start this shit right away. Okay. On every one of these fronts. Okay.
What I call it is conflict engagement.
Conflict engagement.
That's your version of reenfranchisement. Conflict engagement in the lines at Trump rallies.
Conflict engagement. We're starting anarchy. Listen to this.
This is part one of our undercover investigation into the dark, backroom dealings of the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign.
We're going to listen to about 3 minutes of this. We'll play more of it tomorrow, but I want you to listen to this, folks.
From the bottom all the way to the White House. There are concerns this election will be rigged. What you're about to see will make you uncomfortable.
But not about Barack Obama. Barack Obama said today that Trump just needs to stop whining about all this.
Our attorneys say there is strong evidence of criminality, and this is just part one.
And this is the video last night that Fox refused to show.
Oh yeah, you won. They're rock and roll.
So I'm basically Deputy Rapid Response Director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground. Nobody's really supposed to know about me.
No, I'm saying, we have mentally ill people. We pay to do shit. Make no mistake.
It's going to be Cesar Vargas. Is his name?
We have mentally ill people we pay to do something.
Brad and Bob and Lux and myself are all part of the old school method where it doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
So Bob is really good friends with him, and talked to him this afternoon, and they're all in. If we can get 25 grand, they're all in.
There is a narrative that supporters at Trump rallies are violent and dangerous, looking to beat up protesters who don't agree with them. But our undercover investigation into the Hillary Clinton Democratic Party machine reveals a very different story.
If you're there and you're protesting and you do these actions, you will be attacked at Trump rallies. That's what we know.
So that's part of the process of eliciting the reaction.
The whole point of it is we know that Trump's people will freak the fuck out. His security team will freak out, and his supporters will lose their shit.
Folks, I want you to listen to what he just said. We know that if we incite violence, the Trump supporters will freak out, they will lose their blank, they will freak the blank out, and we will, again, let me now paraphrase what I believe he's saying, we will get the mainstream media to pick that narrative up and tell you, the American voter, that Donald Trump is inciting violence when in fact it's a Democratic plan. And at the very beginning of this video, folks, it was clearly stated Hillary Clinton is well aware of it and she's all in. The guy said she's fully in. This is the kind of machine that Donald Trump is coming up against. And this jackass in the picture up here, for him to get on television today in his little high horse and tell the American public that Donald Trump is just whining about something that ain't even happened yet, and there's no whiff of voter fraud or voter intimidation or anything that's going wrong with this election, is the same president that told us there was not one smidgen of corruption with the IRS scandal either. 5 years ago, when we found out the lowest earner was targeting conservatives and using the power of the IRS to go after groups of faith and anybody that opposed President Obama before his 2012 reelection. So let me tell you, folks, this is real stuff. Voter fraud is a real issue in this election. It is something you need to stay on top of. It's something you need to be aware of. It is something you need to pray about. You need to check with your local polls people and to make sure that safeguards are in place, that people are not voting without ID, that voters are not allowed to come in there and vote from the dead, that they're checking these rolls. And if you see voter fraud in any shape, form, or fashion, you report it immediately to authorities and you make sure somebody is made aware of it. Because, folks, this is a real, true, blue issue. And if I'm Donald Trump, I'll bring it up tomorrow night at the election. I bring it up. I really do. Or at the debate. And I wish I had more time to play this. I want to keep this video for tomorrow because we're going to pick it up at that 3-minute mark. It's a 16-minute video. I'm going to play about 5 more minutes of it tomorrow night and let you listen to this whole video that James O'Keefe. This is the video that he wanted to share with Fox News, NBC, CBS, ABC. They all said no. They would not allow him to play it. And I was disappointed in Fox News' Brett Baer last night. He claimed that they needed to check all these claims in this video. That's hogwash, folks. They didn't check a damn claim when all these women were coming forth and this video came forth of Donald Trump last Friday. It was on the evening news by 6 o'clock. But yet a video showing voter fraud and showing intimidation by Clinton people, they've got to go check the sources. Again, another nail in the coffin to let you know just how rigged the mainstream media is. So Barack Obama to make fun of Donald Trump today is hideously funny and stupid. For him to make fun and claim that Donald Trump is whining about a rigged election. Folks, it's a real, true blue issue. And we as the American voters need to be very alert and diligent to make sure this election is not stolen by Hillary Clinton. I wish I had more time tonight. I don't. I want to go over here. I want to play you something. And then I'm going to make a few quick things. This is a great speech that Dinesh D'Souza gave to the Liberty University a few days ago. I want to, first of all, though, before I get to Dinesh's thing, I want to play this commercial that Donald Trump put out, his campaign put out just yesterday. It's the 10-point play guide to how to steal an election, or pay-to-play guide. I want you to watch this cute little video. It's about 60 seconds long. It's good stuff. Watch this. Secretary of State, step 2. Start a foundation is step 1. Step 3, set up a private email server to cover your tracks. In other words, don't let nobody see what you're emailing to, and don't see what's coming to you. Meet with foreign leaders, number 4, with one condition: they donate big bucks to the foundation. Step 5. Foreign leaders, dignitaries, really anyone who paid to play gets special favors from Hillary's State Department. Step 6. Delete any email correspondence on your personal email server. 33,000 of them to be exact. Step 7. Just in case, destroy devices with a hammer. And then step 8, pray you don't get caught. But this is the best one, number 9. You get caught, you cover up, and you lie, and you lie, and you lie, and you lie, and you lie. And step 10, you run for president. And that's Hillary Clinton's 10 steps to the pay-for-play guide and what she's been doing since she's been Secretary of State. Everything is for sale. Clinton Cash, great book. I admonish you to get it. Peter Schweitzer, it's a great read, as is this next guy's movie and book, Hillary's America. Dinesh D'Souza, one of a great gentleman, and I'm real proud of his movie. You've got to see it if you've not seen it. But I want to play this video tonight as we wrap this up. I'm getting close to my time here, and we'll have to pick what we didn't get caught up tonight, tomorrow. But this is his comments to Liberty University, and what he's speaking to here, folks. He's speaking to Christians who are having a conscience battle because they don't like Hillary, but they hate Trump, and they think Trump's the devil. And this is what he has to say to Christians who are not voting in November, and they don't want to vote for either candidate. Listen to what he has to say. Good stuff.
What does the thoughtful Christian, what does the person who recognizes that Hillary is bad news, but nevertheless has a sense of dignity, of decency, of self-worth, do in this bizarre situation? How do you handle the situation with Hillary when her opponent has his own flaws? What do you do? What do you do? You are kind of in the position of the abolitionists of the 19th century, who were the only people who were pure-hearted about slavery. The abolitionists believed that slavery was inherently evil and should be stopped now. And the abolitionists even today are like lamps of beacons of moral inspiration. But it's also true when we look back that the abolitionists politically were completely ineffective. The abolitionists by themselves could accomplish nothing and did accomplish nothing. Why? Because being principled, they found no path, they had no path, at least not initially, to convert their principles into practice. Their intentions were pure, but their activities were worthless. In fact, at their meetings, most of them spent a lot of time doing things like burning the Declaration of Independence, burning the Constitution, blaming the founders for allowing slavery in the first place. Now, who ended slavery if it wasn't the abolitionists?
It's Republicans.
Slavery was ended not by the abolitionists, it was ended by the Republican Party.
Yes, it was.
It was when the Republican Party won the election of 1860, a coalition that included abolitionists, but was not led by one. Abraham Lincoln, throughout his life, denied that he was an abolitionist. His position wasn't no slavery, but I will stop slavery from expanding, the extension of slavery. So the point I want to make is that when we think about morality, there are intentions and there are consequences. And quite honestly, morality involves both. Now the problem with having pure intentions and riding a moral high horse about them,
and a lot of people are,
those pure intentions can actually produce terrible consequences. And so, for example, if someone goes, all right, I normally would vote for a Republican, but on principle, I'm going to stay home in November. I want to say to such a person, you are actually casting your vote for Hillary Clinton. You're doing that.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Now, you may want to do that. You may think, I'm willing to do that. You may not care. But you need to know that a vote for Hillary Clinton is a vote to swing the balance of the Supreme Court virtually irrevocably against us. A vote for Hillary Clinton is a vote to not only permit, but bring in federal subsidies for abortion. A vote for Hillary is a vote to put religious freedom, already precarious, into a much more endangered position because the checks and balances that would normally block the government are themselves being eroded.
Yes, they are.
And you are voting for a regime in which justice becomes increasingly discretionary, as I saw terrifyingly in my own case, in which there were dozens of FBI agents unleashed to get my bank statements, my tax records, read all my books cover to cover, looking for a single line that could be used to incriminate me. My sentence, bizarrely enough, included mandatory psychological counseling. Think about that. This is for giving a campaign contribution. I mean, I wasn't Jeffrey Dahmer. I didn't put bodies in the refrigerator. And yet, as in Cuba, as in the Soviet Union, I'm going to government-ordered counselors supposedly to re-educate me. But I'm not re-educated. I'm unrepentant. In Hillary's America, I think it is an illusion to believe that we as conservatives or as Christians can retreat into our private spaces, drive our pickup truck to school or to work,
Listen to
pray
this,
in
folks.
church,
Listen to
and
this.
they will leave us unmolested. They will not do that.
Listen to what he's about to say.
They have no intention of doing that. And in a democratic society as Christians, think about it. How did we lose the media? Not enough of us got involved. How did we lose academia? Not enough of us went to those schools. How did we lose Hollywood? Not enough of us make movies. We gave up that territory and then we pretend to be shocked when they use their power to beat the heck out of us. And the same is true in politics. American politics since Reagan has been balanced. This ship is likely to go one side up. And it's going to be a very different America, and it's going to be a very different America for you and for me. We've seen the latest WikiLeaks emails. In them you see the kind of bigotry that the Democrats will indulge in privately against evangelicals, against Catholics. When you listen to it, you ask yourself this question: would they ever say that about a Muslim?
Nope, they would not.
Never. So there is a selective prejudice in our society. It's already there. It's already in the culture. But to import it to the highest level of politics, and it's one thing if it happens anyway and we fought it and we lost. But for us to collaborate with it, to make it easy, to make it happen, this is why the English phrase was invented, asking for it. For us to do that, in my opinion, is to ask for it. Look, I don't want to tell you what to do. Frankly, I know what I'm going to do. I can't vote. Because of my conviction on the campaign finance issue, I'm not allowed to vote. But I urge you to think critically. I urge you to weigh the options. I ask you to think about the American dream handed down to us from generation to generation and ask, what can you do to preserve, protect, and defend that dream? In the immortal words of the 60s, I'll close with that saying from the 1960s, if not now, when? If not us, who? Thank you very much.
I wish I had a lot longer tonight to talk about that, folks, but I hope you heard the words of Dinesh D'Souza, the author and the filmmaker of Hillary's America. I encourage you to go see that film on video. It's out on video now. If you've not seen it, it will bring you to tears at the end, the way that he brings that film to a close with the Star Spangled Banner. And after painting the picture of the Democrat history and Hillary Clinton, that he brings it back to us as American citizens, that while he can't vote, we can. And that is really the issue tonight, that we can vote. And as I do that, I'm coming back here to the end, my first screen tonight, and that's going to wrap it up for this Tuesday night Mac Files broadcast. I feel a very somberness about me, folks. I'm very concerned about our country, about our safety. I'm very concerned about all of our families, our friends, our loved ones, people we care about. I ask you out there tonight that are listening to this video, this podcast, to be diligent, to be alert. Don't let this media drag us into the dirt. Please don't let this media circus of this video and these women allegations and this tawdry mess of the stuff that is going on with Donald Trump and trying to get our distracted minds off of the real issues that really matter to us as citizens into this dirt field that they brought us into. Folks, this is serious business. Our nation's at risk tonight. We're at risk. We've got a leader that does not care about us as the American people. We've got a leader that only cares about our enemies, and he's willing to do anything to further his cause. He's totally invested in Hillary Clinton. If she gets elected, she carries on what he's been doing for 8 years. If Donald Trump gets elected, it ends. You think about that when you go to that poll. If you want to keep going down this path that we've been going down for the past 8 years, you vote for her. If you want change, you got your change candidate in Donald J. Trump. And I hope you make the right call come November the 8th. And that's a wrap for a Tuesday night. I've got a few more things I wanted to talk about. I'll save those for tomorrow since we went a little lengthy here tonight. But our prayers tonight for this country and our prayers for you tonight, the American people, and our thoughts that we all remain diligent and God continues to bless this great nation that we call America. And on that note, we say good night. God bless, Godspeed, and may God bless this great nation, and God be with you. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, right here on the Mac Files. Good night, everybody.
The government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish.
Of the people, by the people, for the people.
And that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.